You know, I've been really looking forward to doing this review because it's a review of an affordable integrated amplifier that's made in the US. The company name is Audio by Van Alstine. It's one of those under the radar companies. They've been here doing it for 50 years. As a matter of fact, my first amplifier in the late 70s or early 80s was a Van Alstine amp. And anyway, this amp, the CA1, is a Class AB design. It's 55 watts a channel into 8 ohms, 85 watts a channel into 4 ohms. It has a linear power supply. It's really solidly built. It's not one of those cookie cutter designs like you can't tell one from the next. No, this amplifier definitely has some personality going for it. Oh, and the knob feel. Well, let me get to the knob feel really early on. Those knurled metal knobs, they feel really good. You feel like you're using a machine. You know, that's important to me. And it's especially important because I'm not too crazy about the remote. It works perfectly well and it's easy to use, but it's a tiny plastic remote. It just does power, mute, and volume. That's it. But that's pretty much all that you ever really use, because if you're going to change an input, you're probably going to be next to where the amplifier is. So that's not a biggie. One of the things that jumped out over the course of this review, it took a little time to sink in, is that the CA1 can drive just about any speaker, from really high sensitivity speakers like the Klipsch RP600M to extremely low sensitivity, hard to drive speakers like Magnepans. In this case, the Magnepan 0.7X, which the next review I do will be the Magnepan, by the way. I keep pushing that one back, but the review after this one will be the Magnepan 0.7X. And I'm thrilled that an amplifier as affordable as this, which is $1,599, can drive these tough to drive speakers so well, and others that were in between, you know, those two extremes of easy or difficult to drive categories. Let's take a look at the back panel, and you'll see 4 inputs, just 4. And the first one, all the way on the left there, that's a moving magnet phono input. The other 3 are line level. There is no internal DAC, so there's no digital connectivity. And that's it, and those trigger voltage things in there that I never, ever, ever use, so I really can't talk much about those. And there's a healthy set of binding posts. And back there on the front panel, check out those knobs again, they are so cool. And a tiny, not too bright, power indication light that lights blue when the amplifier is on. Oh, and also on the front panel, there is a 6.3 millimeter headphone jack, and I did use it with a variety of headphones, and I thought the sound with headphones was good. Average, not great, certainly not bad, just right down the middle. So I do want to address this lack of an internal DAC and therefore no digital connectivity. I don't think that's a big problem. I think if you're into digital, if that's a high priority for you and you don't play records, you should pick your own DAC. I mean, if you're not that into digital, hey, just get the $129 Modi Plus from Schiit. It's a fine little DAC, probably better sounding DAC than in most integrated amps in this price range. And if you're really into digital, you should just buy a really good DAC, like this Denafreps Enyo 15. It's the 15th anniversary model. I'll show you a picture of the interior of this DAC. It is a serious converter, and again, you'd have to spend a lot of money on an integrated amplifier to have a DAC as good as the Enyo. So yes, you pick your own DAC to match your level of interest in playing back digital music. Right now I'm going to show you a picture of the inside of the CA1, and note that Audio by Van Alstine sells direct in North America. Price is $1,599. They're not currently doing any export sales. So the first piece of music I played with the CA1 was this track by the Red Clay Strays. It's called I Just Want to Be Loved. And you know what? I just wanted to listen to this track over and over and over again on repeat. There was something about it just drew me in. It was that kind of music. The guitar player, Don Nix, I think his name is, he was doing this kind of George Harrison-ish kind of lead. and the vocal was just so impassioned and powerful. This is rootsy Americana rock music. That's how I would describe it. The band sounds road tested and ready. But this isn't a hard rock song. This is just one of those I just lost my lover kind of songs. Anyway, I loved it, and I'm playing this through the KEF LS50 Metas. And these are, you know these speakers, 5¼ inch full range uni-Q driver. And yet, I was hearing some solid bass performance out of these speakers. I know that some people say that LS50s can sound bright. Well, they can if you use them with crappy electronics or play recordings that are bright or harsh or edgy. Yeah, they can sound that way. But when you use the good stuff, like the CA1, there's definitely no brightness. It's certainly not dull. And the bass is full and very, very satisfying. The very next track I played was this one by Lucinda Williams, Waking Up. This is raw music. This is fuzzed out rock music. And I gotta say, Lucinda is in a pissed off mood. Yeah, she is an angry woman. And the speakers I'm using to audition this track was the Klipsch RP 600M Mark II. Again, some people say this is a bright speaker. Again, not here. No, not a problem. But the music just really came alive. So, I'm using the 600M because it is a very high sensitivity speaker. It can take those 55 watts and more and crank incredibly loud. I'm listening at peaks of maybe 90 dB for a minute or so just to see what that felt like, and it felt really, really good. Continuing my journey with the CA1, the next speaker I chose was this one. This is the Zoo Dirty Weekend 6. And it's part of my reference system for a reason. I'm pointing to it because it's right over there. Because I love it, and it's even more sensitive than the Klipsch. And I was continuing with Lucinda Williams, some of her other albums. And this time, I felt that the speakers are brighter than they normally sound. I know the speaker really well. And for some reason, this combination with the CA1 and the DW6, yeah, with bright music, it was definitely pushing that brightness, and I was not a happy camper. So the Zoos went out, and in their place, I popped in a speaker I reviewed just recently, the PMC Prodigy 5. This is a smallish, floor-standing speaker, but one with a transmission line. So the bass impact of this 5¼ inch woofer, I think it's 5¼ could be incredible. It could sound like a much bigger speaker. So I'm continuing hammering Lucinda Williams, and I'm cranking up the PMCs, and I am digging it. This is a speaker for people who, say they can't have a big speaker dominating the room, but they want to have really good sound, and they want it to be easy to listen to. Yeah, the comparison between this and the Zoo was stark, because the PMC is a much more laid-back sounding speaker. But it does seem to enjoy being played pretty darn loud. Loud for me, as I said, 90 dB peaks for short periods of time. Yeah, these speakers could definitely dish out rock and roll with real gusto. So the next thing I wanted to do was compare the CA1 with another integrated amplifier. And the amplifier I selected was this one, the Leak Stereo 230. The US price is $14.95. It's fully featured. It's a great little amplifier. It's 75 watts a channel. It has that gorgeous wood case. So to do the comparison, to at least start the comparison, I was going to do it with analog and play vinyl. So the first record I selected was this one by Mongo Santa Maria. It's an all analog recording. I was present at the session. That's why I can say that with some authority. It was recorded at Studio A in New York City, RCA Studio A. And I had a great time. Studio A is a huge space. You could record a symphony orchestra. And here we have this big band with percussion, and drums, and brass, and electric bass. It was just a huge space. And I'm playing this record. And first thing, there's no dynamic range compression. This was a Chesky record. There's no dynamic range compression. There's no equalization. It's just what happened in that room is captured and put on this piece of vinyl. And I gotta say, The Stereo 230 did an amazing job of unleashing this huge sound. The dynamics, the space, the band was all there. And when I switched over to the CA1, the sound of the room, I could hear the acoustics of the room more clearly with the CA1. The CA1 had more inner detail, quiet resolution, but what it didn't do was the bottom end was not as full, not as ripe as I was hearing from the Stereo 230. But I would say both amplifiers did an amazing job releasing the energy in this recording. For the amplifier comparison, I was also spinning CDs with the J's Audio CDT2 Transport and the Mola Mola DAC for both amplifiers. The CDs I was playing these two actually by Gil Scott-Heron. He's most famous for this record that he made in the early 70s. It's called The Revolution Will Not Be Televised. And he was basically doing rap long before, decades before rap existed. So he's sort of talking with rhythm, and he's using this live band with him, playing, and it's very political music. It's very intense music on The Revolution Will Not Be Televised, and it actually feels like the vibe of our time right now in 2024. I think Gil Scott-Heron was sort of predicting our future, the future that we're living in right now. And then his last record, I'm New Here, is from 2010, and he lived a life between that one, and his voice in his last record is, no surprisingly, deeper and just has more going on. So as for the speakers, this time I was using the Magnapan 0.7X, at least for some of these comparisons. And the thing is, that's a high transparency speaker, a low sensitivity, but high transparency speaker. And I got to say, the inner detail, the rasp in his voice, I could just hear more of Gil Scott-Heron on the mic with the CA1. And with the Stereo 230, there was less of that. It felt less, there was a veil, I'll put it that. There was less connection between Gil Scott-Heron and the mic over the Stereo 230 than there was over the CA1. I think they're both really good amplifiers. But I would say that the CA1 wins on clarity and hearing more room and more space and more detail in the music. All right, I think I'm ready to turn the page and move on to, so Steve, what do you really think of the Audio by Van Alstine CA1 integrated amplifier? The thing that I liked about it the most was how well it played with almost all the speakers I played. For some reason, the Zoo Dirty Weekend 6, that one didn't click. But the LS50 Meta, the Magnapan 0.7X, the Prodigy 5, the PMC Prodigy 5, and the Klipsch RP600M, man, that was great matches with all of those. Meaning, there's a good chance that whatever speakers you have, there will be a good chance that the CA1 will really do a fine job. Now, as said earlier, I'm not disappointed that it doesn't have a built-in DAC or digital connectivity. I definitely recommend, if you're spending this kind of money, $1,599, that you seriously consider using, and you're into digital, buying a good DAC, whether it's the Madi Plus for $129 or the Enyo, I didn't mention the price before, the Denafreps Enyo 15 or 15th anniversary. That one is $699. So it's actually, price-wise, a good match with this integrated amplifier. And that DAC will definitely blow away any DAC that's built in to a competing amplifier anywhere near this price class. So anyway, I think that Van Alstine is a terrific company. They've been around a long time. And especially if you're living in the US, the only place that this amplifier is available, and you can have local service if that comes up by the company, that is also really important. Anyway, with all of that out of the way, the next thing that's really important is the Audiophiliac viewer system of the day. Trung sent in these pictures, and I think this is an extra cool system. Anyway, his idea for putting together this system stemmed from listening to some original 1960s LPs and then developing a curiosity about what that music would have sounded like with a 1960s era system. The speakers are Alltech Valencia 846. Those were introduced in 1966. Preamp is a Marantz Model 24 from the late 60s. The amplifiers are Heathkit 4WAM monoblocks with tongue saw 5881 tubes. The turntable is Acoustic Research XB with a Pickering V15 cartridge from the 1960s. The only modern part of this system is this Rotel RCD 1072. Anyway, thank you so much, Tron. Okay, we are back. My name is Steve Guttenberg, and I am the Audiophiliac, and I have a Patreon. My patrons help keep this channel going. And I started a new feature for my patrons, and that is that I do exclusive content, basically one new video a week just for them. These are short videos, and they're not reviews, but extra content of all different types just for my patrons. So anyway, if that entices you a little bit, maybe you should check out the website. Oh, and by the way, Patreon accepts payments in dollars, pounds, euros, and pretty much any currency in the world. And with that, I can say my work here is at last complete. Thank you so much for watching, and I really do hope to see you back here again very, very soon. Bye-bye.